sorry to interrupt, sir. The fact is, Supreme Court said when it dismissed NJAC, it says, listen, what we are doing is the will of the people. Now I'm confused. Who made the Supreme Court the will of the people? The Supreme Court is obviously the last word in terms of interpreting of the Constitution. But the Supreme Court, while dismissing NJAC, said, we are the will of the people. Was that not a reflection of arrogance, sir?
Now, Arnab, the will of the people is expressed in Parliament. And it was a rare moment that parties cutting across party lines came together. That is the will of the people. The will of the people is not where judges are appointed. They are not appointed in a democratic fashion.
You're right.
Where people elect members of Parliament.
You're right.
And members of Parliament are jolly well answerable to the public.
You're right
public
there.
Can chuck them out.
You're right. The will of the people is represented by the Parliament. But, you know, now there is another, and I'll be a little clear and I want to be very straight with you. There are some people who say, Mr. Rohatgi, that listen, I mean, there's a lot of rot and corruption in the judiciary, but you see, Narendra Modi is very powerful Prime Minister, there's a very powerful government, BJP is very strong, and we need the Supreme Court to be clear of any influence of the government. That may or may not be a flawed argument. How do you view it? That, you know, almost as if the Supreme Court should be an opposition party. And hence, the appointment of judges, the Supreme Court Collegium, the government must have no role in it because that will make the government even more powerful.
No, look, the Constitution provided that the government will appoint judges, as I said, in consultation with the Chief Justice.
Right.
The system worked beautifully from 1950 to 1975.
Yeah.
This resting of power was only because of the
emergency,
of the rocking of the board by the emergency and the super sessions, etc. Then it should have come back to even keel. It should have come back to even keel, but it never came back. Now, you say government is powerful, Mr. Modi is powerful or not powerful. The fact is, nobody is above the Constitution. Everybody must be subservient or obedient to the Constitution. This is changing the Constitution by an illegal method. It can only be changed by Parliament, and that too by two-thirds majority, etc., etc., etc. You cannot change the Constitution by a bench of judges sitting saying that, you see, consultation should mean concurrence. As far as strong or weak government is concerned, the court is concerned with deciding cases. That is the job of the court. It decides cases according to the Constitution. The cases are not only between the public and the government. The cases are between various citizens, various companies. There are a lot of private cases also. So I don't think there is any, you should not put any store by this fact that the government is powerful or not powerful. I don't think that is